Welcome to Richmond Raceway. We're on lap number 30 of 250 here in the Tuesday Night NASCAR Truck Series, brought to you by Dowel Simulators and eSports, right here on iRacing.com. Sorry for the delay, folks, but unfortunately sometimes the real world creeps in and you've got to answer duty at work. Duty? Who says duty? But unfortunately it dragged me away from here for a few minutes, but we're back, and obviously only 30 laps in so far, working our way toward lap number 70 for the end of Stage 1. Stage 2 going to end at lap number 140, 250 total laps tonight, but I'll tell you what, the way that they're ripping them off tonight, especially having such a clean race at now running 22-second laps, this race is going to be blistering fast from start to finish. Speaking of blistering fast, just as we drop in here to the broadcast booth, Sylvain Joly chasing down Joseph Lester, cutting that lead to next to nothing in that Axon LED 08 Toyota Tundra. Of course, we can take a quick look here and see where everybody had qualified at the beginning of this race. Joseph Lester started on the pole, followed by Jeremy Paris, Sylvain Joly, Claude Ferland, Brandon Minto, Rich Jett, Gabriel Lafreniere, Aaron Mack, Nicholas Breidenbach, Ron Fitting, Dan Morgan, Tony Burt, Randall Watkins, Chris Claude, Steve Herring, John Wilco, Matt Mackin, Alexander Gangler, and of course, last but not least, who started shotgun on the field, Mr. Sean Kelly. And of course, Sean Kelly right now, as we bring him up here on your screen. Actually, we can't bring him up on your screen. Oh, there he is. He is currently running in 11th position right now. So one of the big movers, in fact, the biggest mover of the evening so far is Sean, as right now running in 11th position, trying to chase down those all-important bonus points. Of course, that will become more important as playoff time gets nearer and nearer here in the 2023 Tuesday Night NASCAR Truck Series. Three wide now is Tony Burt about to be put a lap down. We'll take a look here. Tony gets to the inside, and quite frankly, he's one of those drivers where he will be there at the end. He will make himself, known toward the end of this race. But right now, the way they run is Joseph Lester, who started from the pole. He leads Sylvain Joly, but now by just 0.2 of a second. Taking a look around the racetrack, things starting to heat up a little bit back here with Dan Morgan. He's on the high side of the 89. That's Steve Herring. He's trying to get his way around Herring. Just behind them, the pride of Orlando, Florida, Mr. Nicholas Breidenbach, as he was out a few weeks due to an injury from a real-life car crash. So we're glad to have him back here in our Dowel Simulators and eSports iRacing.com Truck Series ranks. Of course, it's always good when we get to see these folks, competing, and it's even better when we get to see them come back healthy and sometimes, in some situations, better than ever. In fact, speaking of injured and better than ever, we'll be checking in with Joseph Lester, our race leader, at some point, I'm almost positive. The young man coming back from a foot injury got the walking boot off today, according to him from last night. As Dan Morgan still not ready to give up on Steve Herring as they come out of turn number 4, crossing the start-finish line. It's going to be a long night if these two don't want to give up here. A lot of times, stage 1 in these races is kind of a, get to know your neighbor situation where, wow, Joseph Lester hauls it out of turn 2 and down the backstretch. A lot of this is getting to know your neighbor, what kind of competition you're going to be having, especially in a place like Richmond. I mean, this 1-mile track, right here, about 45 minutes south of Washington, D.C. Of course, Richmond, the former Southern capital during the American Civil War from 1860 to 1865, 1861 to 65. You know, Richmond, absolutely rich in history. If you ever get a chance, you can always cruise through Richmond. If you need to stop and use the bathroom, there's a wonderful Wawa right down the road here. And ooh, looking to the inside of the 27, that's Randall Watkins going down a lap, as Joseph Lester just made it look that easy. Dan Morgan about to be put a lap down. We take a look back here at Nicholas Breidenbach, flipping around here like a pancake on a griddle we are, as there is all kinds of good racing going on. Ooh, making contact with Dan Morgan is Joseph Lester. Ooh, Joseph Lester gets turned and he is in the wall. We stay green. Oh my goodness. Let's take a look at that, folks. What a turn of events there for Joseph, as that's not going to make him very happy. We'll take a look right here from his cockpit. We can see Joseph working just behind Morgan on the high side here. He comes down behind Morgan, gives him a little nudge, and Morgan, not happy with it, just absolutely takes him out. We'll take another look at that. Taking a look here from Dan Morgan's perspective, we're going to watch him take that hit from Joseph Lester. And we can see him just get into Lester ever so gently, and that spins the young man from Damascus, Virginia out. Joseph Lester quickly regaining the lead. We'll see how he did that. We can see Joseph coming back up here, and Sylvain Joly almost ceding the position away to Lester, as it seems like that was more a matter of respect. I mean, obviously he knows that his equipment is able to compete with Lester, but now that puts Lester right back in contention to go after Dan Morgan once again. Sylvain Joly getting ready to take it 3 wide here as he and Joseph Lester work their way past Steve Herring in the 89. Lester managing to take everything in stride and not come off his marks. That puts, once again, Steve Herring down. He will now be the lucky dog, but unfortunately for Matt Mackin, that means he's next on the menu for Joseph Lester as he is chewing up the racetrack tonight. Of course, right now, Matt Mackin following Chris Claude, and I'll tell you what, he doesn't get enough camera time sometimes, but Chris Claude in this awesome sun drop paint scheme is just something that I've got to be excited about. I mean, the SNN Cup Series commissioner himself from Fairview, Tennessee, driving a different paint scheme. Of course, usually in a Dasani paint scheme, Dasani Water has decided to switch on over to the Earnhardt favorite family drink, Sun Drop, and I'll tell you what, that thing looks fantastic, Chris. Claude Ferlin trying to get his way up here, just a half second behind Lester, as Joly has not really tried to get too much ahead of Lester, but right now he's looking to the high side. He swings out of turn 4 and has the run on Lester. He takes that momentum now. As long as he can get out of turn 2 again, we should be all right. Sylvain Joly, our new race leader, just ahead of Joseph Lester by now 0.2 of a second. Lester making contact again, getting shuffled around. Lester all the way back to 4th position now. He's got to fight his way through traffic around Aaron Mack and Claude Ferland. We'll take a look right here and we'll see exactly what may have happened. We can see Lester having come out of turn 2 and just getting, hooked a little bit. And he is shuffled all the way back now to 4th position. Sylvain Joly, our neighbor from the north, now our race leader, followed by Aaron Mack, Claude Ferland, and Joseph Lester. Gabriel Lafreniere, one of our other neighbors from the north, running in 5th. So 3 out of the top 5, all Canadians here at Richmond Raceway. It looks like that's the 31 of Aaron Mack getting loose coming into turn 3. And he manages to hold it together, but he's definitely loose on exit. I'd say that he definitely needs to make a little bit of a wedge adjustment there on the 31 as he's working underneath the 43 of Claude Ferland. Now he gets his way around as he's got to get, whoa! Aaron Mack starting to slide down here to the bottom of the racetrack. Now Aaron Mack getting shuffled back. That puts 2 Canadians in 1 and 2 in Sylvain Joly and Claude Ferland. Something we talk about almost every week in this league is the fact that this league is very Chevy heavy. I mean, right now there's just 5 Toyotas and only 2 Ford F-150s out on the racetrack. Three wide goes Gabriel Lafreniere and Joseph Lester as they get around Chris Claude. Coming across the start-finish line, we're at lap number 64, working our way toward lap number 75. Correction, lap number 70. So just about 7 laps here to the end of stage number 1. Live here in the Norristown, Pennsylvania Sim Racing Media Studios. Ding dong for Dairy Queen as the Puppy Chow Blizzard has been delivered by DoorDash. Always thankful for a little bit of Dairy Queen refreshment. Speaking of Dairy Queen, DQ, a rough night for tonight's race controller. In fact, we're going to get a chance here to chat with Bennett in just a moment. No, we're not, as I can't find Bennett Allen in the race chat. But if I could, I would talk to him about that last lap disqualifying that he experienced last night in the Xfinity Series at Road America. And I'll tell you what, he was extremely frustrated, I'm sure, as any driver would be. But taking a look right now at Sean Kelly, up 7 positions. Our big mover right now belongs to the number 8 truck. Of course, that in the Mountain Dew throwback Toyota Tundra, driven by one Alexander Gangler of former Sunday Night NASCAR Cup Series race control fame, as the young man from Big Rock, Illinois, gets it going here on lap number 68. Now getting his way up into the top 10 nice and safely, up 11 positions, as that truck has really come to life here in the later stage, or in the later laps of stage number 1. And speaking of stage number 1, we're on lap number 69, just 2 to go here in stage 1. Sylvain Joly crosses the start-finish line on lap number 70. When he comes around, The green and white checkered flag will wave. Gabriel Lafreniere back here doing battle with Aaron Mack in the 31. Looks like Aaron Mack not having the edge that he had a moment ago as that Chevrolet, as his Chevrolet is doing battle with that F-150 of Gabriel Lafreniere, that Oxmoor 06, that we've seen so many times have success here in this league. And as they cross the start-finish line, we'll wait for Nicholas Breidenbach to come across the line as he rolls out of turn number 4. Chased down by John Wilco, but a little bit too much distance on Wilco does he have. As now he rolls out of turn 4, he can see that start-finish line. The green and white checkered flag waves, and Sylvain Joly, our Stage 1 winner, followed by Gabriel Lafreniere, Aaron Mack, Claude Ferland, Brandon Minto, Joseph Lester, Alexander Gangler, Rich Jett, Ron Fitting, and Orlando, Florida's very own Nicholas Breidenbach. And with us right now as he comes down pit road, our first stage winner, Sylvain Joly. Hey, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me?
Yeah, so you copy. How are you?
I'm good. Listen, you had a great showing here in stage 1. You were able to battle the boy king, Joseph Lester. How are you feeling tonight so far?
I feel very good. Puis Lester is a very good driver. I have very fun with her. I'm battle every time, and Lester not lucky for the lapper.
Absolutely. I mean, and just as you're getting 4 tires there on the 8 truck, I mean, give or take, are you going to make any adjustments, or do you think that truck is handling just right?
No, the setup is very good. I'm not sure I understand your question. Repeat me, please. Sorry.
Did you make any adjustments to the truck chassis?
Yes. Comment je pourrais dire? Sorry, esprit. My English, sorry guys, my English is really a little bit.
I'll work on my first.
I'm very, very nervous for the race, I'm battle for the Leicester. I go low and low for the pass to Leicester, where to be sure to no touch to Leicester.
Stand by, buddy.
Yes. Yes. Sorry. Okay. Hey, thank you.
Well, listen,
Dave.
bon chance.
Sorry. Yeah, thank you. Coming for the next stage.
Yep. All right. Well, listen. Bon chance, and maybe we'll see you later.
Thank you. Bye, Dave.
All right.
With only 19 in the field. And we're back under green flag conditions here as Sylvain Joly hops out in front of the rest of the field, gets a good jump
over top of teammate Gabriel Lafreniere and Aaron Mack. As we are back under green flag conditions, you'll have to forgive the language barrier, folks, as I'm not very good with French, and Sylvain having some trouble with the English. And believe me, we will get it right one day, as, of course, for lack of a better term, I'm just a dumb American. I can speak American. But Sylvain, absolutely a great race car driver. We see all of these three drivers from Canada just making such an incredible showing here in this league. As right now, Brandon Minto and Rich Jett in the double natural going at it. Claude Ferland slides sideways. We stay green as Claude went down to the infield. We'll see what happened. We're going to see this coming out of turn number 4. Maybe Claude got himself a little bit loose, and that's just how we wound up here. Sylvain Joly, our race leader, followed by Rich Jett, Gabriel Lafreniere, Aaron Mack, and Brandon Minto, your top 5. We can see Minto here in the number 12, Little Caesars Chevrolet Silverado. He's chasing down Aaron Mack, but right now the distance between he and Aaron Mack, 4/10 of a second, getting shorter, but Minto is going to have to really be drafting up to the rear end of the 31. And unfortunately, Aaron Mack knows that, and he is keeping that exact distance between himself and Minto, which has got to be frustrating. Hey, Austin, good to see you here in our YouTube.com live chat. You'll have to forgive us, folks, as we were a little late getting on the air tonight, as the real world stepped in and interrupted things as we were getting ready to go green flag racing. Had to run to work for a few minutes, but fortunately, something simple, no harm, no foul. But unfortunately, you missed about the first 30 laps, where obviously at that point it was the Joseph Lester show. And right now, Sylvain Joly is absolutely running a clinic over top of Rich Jett. I mean, it has to be frustrating for Rich, driver of the number 77, as they are nose to tail diving into turn 1 yet again, and Rich not able to get around Sylvain. Rich Jett still trying to get the edge on Sylvain Joly, who's keeping an even 2/10 of a second, but Jeremy Paris has come back out on the track and crashed. We'll see what happens here, as we are under our second caution, our first caution for cause, as we see Paris here in the 05. He was already down a couple of laps. He hauls it in front of Dan Morgan and finds out maybe that's a little bit of neck code. We're going to see if, oh, nope, they did make contact. That is absolute contact between Dan Morgan and Jeremy Paris. Paris holding the brakes and getting himself down to the infield safely, but unfortunately a pretty frustrating wreck. As, yes, Austin, that was a wreck for last. Welcome back to Richmond Raceway, where Sylvain Joly is going to lead our field back to the green flag as the iRacing.com pace car dives on down pit road. So right now, they enter the Geico restart zone. Sylvain Joly gets the jump, and we're back underway. Joseph Lester blowing the doors off of Sylvain Joly here in this battle for the lead. Lester just climbed up there as if he owns the lead, and right now he does, as that puts Sylvain Joly back into second position, trailing by just under 0.2 of a second. Rich Jet now getting a little wedged under here. That boxes out Sylvain Joly, our stage 1 winner, as we're working our way toward lap number 140 here at Richmond Raceway. You're watching the Jack Dowel Simulators and eSports iRacing.com Truck Series live here on Sim Racing Media. Glad to have you with us tonight. Thank you for making us a part of your evening. If you haven't done so already, make sure that you subscribe and turn on those bell notifications for Sim Racing Media here on YouTube.com. That way you get notified every time we go live on a Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday for the SNN Family Racing Series. Of course, Sundays at 7:30 Eastern is SNN Cup Series action. Monday night, if you like. Whoa! A little bit of contact between the 77 and the 84. Rich Jet getting shoved to the outside. It goes Lester, Jet, Sylvain Joly, our top 3. And right now, Rich Jet has got to be thanking his lucky stars as well as Joseph Lester. A three-way battle breaking out for 4th position between Brandon Minto, Gabriel Lafreniere, and Nicholas Breidenbach as Chris Claude has brought out caution number 3. We'll see what happened with Chris here. They roll out of 4. Chris comes up. I don't see what happened to the 10 truck. Oh, here it comes. Oh! Once again, that almost looked a little bit like netcode. Let's run that back. Taking a look here from our blimp cam, he runs in underneath Aaron Mack. No, he just gets a crazy run on Aaron Mack and just wiped himself out. .40 laps to go in stage number 2 for our second caution for cause of the evening in the Jack Dowel Simulators and eSports iRacing.com Truck Series. Yeah, Austin and Damon, I'm going to have to be with you. If you can't beat them, wreck them. Or at least that definitely seems to be what's going on the racetrack tonight, as we've got quite an interesting competition here atop the pile between Lester, Jet, Joly, and Minto now getting into the mix. But some great racing here atop the pile. Unfortunately, Chris Claude getting himself into a little situation here. Just puts him 1 lap down, but, you know, it could be a long night for him if there's any damage to the number 10 Sundrop Toyota Tundra. The lights are out on the iRacing.com pace car as they bring us down pit road, or I'm sorry, as they bring us down the backstretch, getting ready to turn down pit road. You'll have to forgive me, I'm going into a little bit of a Dairy Queen coma, if you will. The puppy chow is absolutely delicious. I have to say, it's definitely a winning selection for the evening. As Joseph Lester hits the restart zone, and we're back underway. Rich Jet getting a jump over top of Brandon Minto. He's going to be pushed along here by Sylvain Joly. Joly not going to give up the low side position in turns 1 and 2, but as they shoot down the backstretch, all of a sudden it's almost like that truck came alive for Minto, but Minto once again tightening up and riding up the racetrack instead of down against the fenders of Joly. Joseph Lester starting to pull away now from Rich Jet by about a quarter of a second here on lap number 106. We're working our way toward lap 140. Had a pretty clean stage number 1, and now it's gotten a little hairy here in 2. Exciting racing all over the racetrack as Jeremy Paris still back here competing. As Alexander Gangler has gotten himself up into 6th position now, our biggest mover of the evening. Working now underneath Orlando, Florida's very own Nicholas Breidenbach. Gangler, who is sneaky good here at Richmond, has suddenly climbed himself up almost into the top 5 as he is still challenging Breidenbach. Barring any mistakes from Gangler, I believe we may see him starting to net those top 5 points. As the Hooters Chevrolet is trying to hold on to the high side, that Mountain Dew throwback machine doing one heck of a job keeping it steady in between the navigational beacons. That front 4 starting to break away as Brandon Minto, the last in that upper little group here. I can't even call it a pack, it's just a small group. We're going to look at McAdoo, Pennsylvania's very own Mr. John Wilco, driver of the number 62 Roll Gold Chevrolet. He's leading Ron Fitting, who we've seen have a couple of rough nights, but it looks like he's going to have a good night here, running right now in 10th position where he started. And as I said that, Alexander Gangler just cracked into the top 5. So far tonight, folks, this is going to be the story of the evening, as it looks like here on lap number 112, Alexander Gangler is battling his way to the lead in the 8 truck, doing that number 8 proud, if you will, as he's now battling on the low side here. Not necessarily fender to fender, but he's definitely keeping Minto away from him as they shoot down the backstretch. It looks like this might be the time where Gangler's going to have enough room to swing up and secure 4th position away from Brandon Minto. Gangler's not done yet. He's now challenging Sylvain Joly for 3rd position. He swings it out of turn number 2, maybe getting a little loose there, getting a little excited, and he puts Rich Jet right into the crosshairs. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an impressive run right now for the 8 truck driven by Alexander Gangler, as he is side by side going down the front stretch with Rich Jet. Rich Jet flying out to the high side of the racetrack, giving Gangler the space that he needs and the momentum that he needs now coming out of turn 2 down the back chute, putting the great one, Joseph Lester, in the crosshairs. We're going to turn on the battle box here, and you can watch that time start to ebb away from Joseph Lester, almost eroding away as Gangler is closing in on him fast. Damon, I would be surprised if he didn't take tires, because right now he is about to challenge the young man. The fruit of your loins, Mr. Damon Lester. For the lead, Alexander Gangler now with 21 to go in stage number 2, chasing down Joseph Lester. As he last came down on lap 100, so 28 lap newer tires for Gangler. Now the question is, did he use up too much of those tires getting to where he is? And yeah, I'll tell you what, folks. Damon Lester is 1,000% correct. Catching Joseph is one thing. Passing him is a whole nother level. All of that work, and now it appears that Alexander Gangler may have cooked off the rubber from underneath that Toyota Tundra, as he's going to start slipping backwards now in our standings. But it was an impressive run while it lasted, Alexander, with now 18 laps to go in stage number 2. Alexander Gangler holding on for dear life to third position now with 17 laps to go. Jeremy Paris a couple of laps down now between he and Gabriel Lafreniere. I'm sorry, Sylvain Joly. Joly now starting to close in on Joseph Lester, and he's down to 1/10 of a second at one point in the race. And as they turn circuit number 125, we've now gotten to the halfway point of this race, and I'll tell you what, so far this has been an exciting race. Joseph Lester leading this piece, followed by Sylvain Joly, Alexander Gangler, Brandon Minto, and Rich Jett, your top 5. Gabriel Lafreniere, Claude Furland, Nicholas Breidenbach, John Wilco, and Ron Fitting make up your top 10. Jeremy Paris trying to get his lap back the good old-fashioned way, as Paris last came down pit road on lap number 87, so slightly newer tires than Joseph Lester, as it goes Lester and Joly just behind him. But as long as Paris can stay where he is, he'll get one lap back when we have that stage caution in about 11 laps. as we're on lap number 130 of 250 here at Richmond Raceway. You're watching the Jack Dowel Simulators and eSports iRacing.com Truck Series. A little bit of action here in our YouTube.com live chat. Yeah, I'll tell you what, Damon, DW would be right. He used up all the goodie in those tires. I don't think the lap truck will take the leaders out. Jeremy Paris usually is a very competitive driver here in this group. Damon, I'm not sure if you do, but if you do, actually, I know how to do this. Stand by. A little bit of contact between Jolie and Lester. That's something interesting here. Damon, check your Discord. I just sent you an invite to a different channel. Hop in there and I can chat with you here on the air. Alexander Gangler running in third position right now. Dragon, good to have you tonight. I'm doing fine. Glad to have you with us, as always. We are here at Richmond Raceway, right in the heart of... There we go. Damon, hop in that general chat, the general voice channel. Damon, if you can hop in the general chat there, you should be able to hear me. We should be able to chat it out. But right now, it looks like Joseph holding on to the lead. Side by side goes Joseph and Sylvain Jolie. Jolie now sitting on the low side. He gets himself down here just in front of Joseph as Jolie going to battle it out here on the second to last lap of stage number 2. And now, right now, the father and the, really the sire of the driver of the 84, Mr. Damon Lester. Hey, Damon, how you doing, buddy?
Doing good, Dave. How you doing this evening?
I'm good. Always glad to chat with you. I'm glad you got here into the Discord. What's up with your boy here? I mean, he is doing absolutely incredible things right now on the racetrack.
Well, he's sort of been hobbled for the past few weeks, and he finally got his boot off today, so he's actually driving with a normal shoe today. He's got that 84 Living Not Lumber Chevrolet running pretty good tonight, and talked to him a little bit before the race and asked him what kind of truck he had, and he said he was going to try to free it up a little bit to help him on the long run. So not sure how the handling's going right now, but it seems to be holding up pretty good.
Well, as in the last stage, they're in stage 1. It's almost like Sylvain Jolie is just kind of harassing him from behind, and realistically just kind of pestering him. I mean, I'm not sure what Sylvain has going on there, but as far as I'm concerned, he and Joseph are going to put on a heck of a show the rest of tonight.
Oh yeah, I agree. I think there's been some good racing so far. Now that everybody's, and I say that, we've got a caution, looks like.
Yep, this is the stage. Caution, stage number 2 is over. Sylvain Jolie brings home the green and white checkered flag, followed by Joseph, Gabriel Lafreniere, Alexander Gangler, Brandon Minto, Claude Furland, Rich Jett, Nicholas Breidenbach, Ron Fitting, and John Wilco rounding out the top 10, being awarded bonus points. You know, I thought Joseph had to be feeling better after I saw you guys had gone to Buffalo Wild Wings. And, I mean, if you can handle B-dubs, you can handle just about anything.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. He pretty close to in tears. He doesn't like to get, the mild. He likes to get the super hot. Got to have a drink right by you kind of wings. So, yeah, he loves his B-dubs, that's for sure. But,
I'll tell you what, I was at a place called the Wild Wing Cafe down in Myrtle Beach a couple of years ago, and I had the Carolina Reaper wings. Yep. Wow.
Yeah, those will set you on fire for sure. Yeah, love Wild Wings Cafe. It's a good place down in Myrtle Beach.
The interesting thing, though, with that place, and I don't know if you caught on to this, but it's apparently a gathering place for Tony Burke. Oh, there we go. He's decided to come down pit road. It's a gathering place for fans of the Cleveland Browns. Did you catch that?
No, I didn't. It's been a while since I've been there, but
I was down there during football season, and my mom lives in Myrtle Beach, and I was down during football season and on a Sunday afternoon to watch the Cowboys game, and there was a Browns game on, and apparently it's like a gathering place for Browns fans.
it's probably because they need something to cheer them up so they come get some good wings.
I mean, if I was a Browns fan, I would probably have to melt my face off too with some wings.
Yeah, what? Surely you didn't go to watch the Cowboys as a fan. You went to watch them get beat by somebody, right?
No, my friend. I am an ashamed Cowboys fan. Don't you worry.
God bless your heart.
That's the Southern way of saying, you son of a gun. One of those 7 words I can't say on television. But, you know, now, you guys being from Damascus, does that make you Redskins fans, or are you closer to Titans country?
Well, we are Titans fans. However, Sam Howell from North Carolina is a starter for the Commanders this year. So we have lots of reasons to watch the Commanders and the Titans this year. So
yeah, I guess I just showed my my ineptitude of football. They are not the Redskins anymore. They are the Commanders. And rumor has it they're going to be rebranded yet again.
It would not surprise me.
I mean, from a football standpoint, I'm just glad that Dan Snyder is out of the way.
Yeah, I think maybe they'll be able to move forward, and he wasn't making very good decisions for a long time, so maybe that'll help him out. I've got a lot of family members that are Redskin fans and a few that are Cowboys fans, so it's sort of fun to sit and watch them argue during football season. But
absolutely. My family is made up of a Bears fan, a couple of Steelers fans, Eagles fans, me as a Cowboys fan. Football is not, as geographical as baseball or hockey might be, or basketball if you're a basketball guy. But, football, you can be from way outside of where your team is. Like, I have friends that are Seahawks fans, and I think, why?
Yeah. I mean, Joseph and I are, we live an hour and a half from Virginia Tech and probably 2 hours from University of Tennessee, and we don't like either one of those schools. So we're Tar Heel fans, and we're actually going to be going to, we'll be at the first game day of the year in Charlotte when North Carolina plays South Carolina. So
that'll be exciting.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that. So that'll be fun.
See, but, I like both the South Carolina. Well, I like most of the South Carolina teams, because they have something to do with Roosters. And, of course, there's nothing like, a Gamecocks game and I get to scream "Go Cox" for absolutely no reason. Or my favorite college team is the Chanticleers for Coastal Carolina. Do you know what a Chanticleer is?
I have no idea.
So in a hen house, I'm literally just borrowing you so I can tell the story. In a hen house, when they need to fertilize the eggs, they have a rooster in there. And usually it's a bunch of roosters. But there's usually a bigger rooster. He's, more impressive looking, maybe a bigger plume, so on and so forth. And he is called a Chanticleer. So he's the biggest rooster. Or, what's the other word for rooster? It's a cock. So he's the biggest cock wandering around the hen house. And that I can say on TV.
There you go. Yeah. Well, we all know who the real Carolina is, and we'll prove that on September 2nd. So it looks like we're back to green, and Joseph has Jolie's not letting him get far away. There's about 2/10 of a second between them. He closes it, just a little bit every now and then. But like to see what happens here if we get a good long green run, and see how Joseph's got that truck handling.
Yeah, it looks like Jolie was hindered a little bit by Brandon Minto in the Little Caesars number 12 Chevrolet Silverado. And right now, as they roll out of turn 4, it looks like Minto wants to challenge Joseph. And I got to be honest, you can challenge him. And I think that your point that you made in the live chat was just spot on. I mean, you can challenge, you can come up there and challenge him, but passing him is the next challenge.
Yeah. There's been several that have tried, as you well know, and
it doesn't usually end well for them.
No. But
I mean,
I will say this: in the last year or so, Joseph's racecraft has really improved. I'm really proud of him. He knows what his truck will do, and he doesn't try to push it past that. Just right now it's like he's going to settle in, and he'll take what the track will allow. So that's something that Joseph didn't used to do. He used to push all the time. I know Austin is in the chat. I know he'll agree. Sometimes he would try to take a little bit more than the car would handle, but his racecraft has really improved over the last year, and seems to really have found his place in the Xfinity and Truck Series here at SNN Family.
Yeah, and I've mentioned that a whole lot, that over the last 3 years of racing with and around Joseph, and really it's more like racing around him because I was always toward the rear of the field anyway. But, it always seems like he is just really matured as a race car driver. I mean, we look at it and sure you can call it a game, but really it is a simulation. And, the amount of practice and the time that you have to invest in this sport is incredible. For somebody...
Yeah.
For somebody
sure.
like you or like me who works a full-time job, I mean, we don't have the time to invest, like a teenager like Joseph does. And even so, he's still working, going to school, and getting really good at this sport.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's holding down during the summer. He's holding down almost a full-time job and still going to school this summer. So, he's not had as much time to practice as I know he would like. But he's still, taking advantage of what he can do. But yeah, we're really proud of him. He's doing a great job, and I'm hoping to maybe be able to get back and race with some of these guys. I have to admit, I let my iRacing sort of go cold for a while. Just needed a break, and maybe this fall I may pop back in and ride at the back of the pack in some of these races. You never can tell, Dave.
Trust me, I know the feeling. I hung up the racing gloves a couple of weeks ago, just before moving to a new place. And, I got to the point where I thought, I'm not that good. And I only raced one night a week, competitively, and really not that much in the public forums anymore because they're just frustrating so as it is sometimes. And, there are still nights where I'm looking at these truck races going, yeah, I could still do this. But, sometimes I have a lot more fun up here in the broadcast booth, especially because I get to, someone's down in the infield. Looks like Sean Kelly has crashed. I'll get back to that in a second. Let's see what happened with Sean as he came down the back stretch into turn 3 in that black bullet number 23. And almost looks like he just had some kind of a waggle, maybe a hardware failure there. Ooh, biting the inside wall. That'll be the end of the 23. As that engine just popped. But, after I moved, it was just a matter of making the decision whether or not I belonged up here in the broadcast booth or down there on the racetrack. And, you get the itch, but at the same time, I think I'm not near as stressed as some of these guys are down there.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, running some races with Joseph over the last couple of years, I think some of the most stressful times where riding behind him at places like Daytona and Talladega and him saying, just push me. And yeah, I didn't want to wreck him. I was pushing as hard as I could. But, these guys, they're really good at what they do. And, I enjoy watching and, just keeping tabs with all these guys. I've met a lot of great guys, through iRacing. And,
Look,
it's,
I've said before, to your point there. I mean, I've said before, a lot of the friendships and some of the things that some of the people that I've met through iRacing are incredible. I mean, I've gotten to hang out with John Bawalda, who of course is no longer part of the league, but Bob Nestor, of course, is who brought me in here, and Bob was kind of like Joseph, to you. It was like we'd be on a super speedway, and Bob said, push me, and I'm like, Bob, listen, I don't want to wreck you. You'll be fine,
Yeah.
And, you get to meet some interesting people, though. I mean, without iRacing, I never would have crossed paths with Ricky Carmichael or Trevor Bain. I mean, it's not very often that you can say that you've met the GOAT of Supercross and motocross and the 2014 Daytona 500 champion.
Oh yeah, and Joseph has gotten to race with his favorite driver, Derek Kraus, a couple of times. You'll have to ask him about that sometime. Let's just say Derek Kraus is not his favorite person when it comes to iRacing. I think he filled in for Allmendinger this past weekend in Richmond, since Allmendinger was in Road America. But I aggravate Joseph about that because Derek Kraus took him out in a street stock race one time. But it's fun. It gives you a chance to get away from reality. As long as you can do this and it's fun and you don't get too caught up in everything. But it does look like Minto went to the pits right there.
Yeah, I see. Well, Jeremy Paris is still in the pits. And where did Minto go?
He came in the pits.
He did. Here on lap 161. It's Minto, Aaron Mack, and Claude Furland all came down pit road. So that's an interesting strategic decision. Of course, under 100 laps to go here, and I mean, this is where we're going to start to see a lot of the drivers. This is where the men are men and the goats are scared. That's for sure, because we're at that point in the race where you've got to figure out what you have left in that truck.
Yeah, and I think maybe Minto saw what the 8 truck and Gingler was able to do coming up through the field, but he's got to waste a lot of that tire getting up through the field. So I'm not sure how beneficial it's going to be. He was outside his second lead when we had the caution, so we'll just have to see what happens here.
Absolutely. Well, we're just getting ready to go back green flag racing, but Damon, I appreciate your time stopping in. We don't get to hang out and chat enough, but I do appreciate you coming over. Of course, hanging out in the now defunct Independence Racing League chat. It's basically just a repository of where I keep graphics at this point.
Hey man, I appreciate you grabbing me, and look forward to watching the rest of the race. And have a good evening.
All right, brother. God bless you.
You too, man.
That, folks, was, of course, the great Damon Lester, former driver here in the SNN Truck Series. Of course, the father of Joseph Lester, driver the number 84, as we're back underway. We're going to step aside and pay some bills here on Sim Racing Media. Oh, Chris Claude just showing up as crashed. Not sure what happened. We'll take a look here at the replay. As we see Chris rolling out of turn 4, crossing the start-finish line. Waiting to see what might have brought out... Chris just getting bit by that cold tire bug as he was just down on 163. That'll definitely crinkle in that fender. Fortunately, he stays pointed forward as we're on lap 168 of 250. We're going to step aside and pay some bills here on Sim Racing Media. Welcome back to Richmond Raceway. We're going to let you folks at home turn it up here on Sim Racing Media. And under caution for the fourth time tonight for cause, as it looks like Randall Watkins, Tony Burt, and a couple of other drivers may have been involved in some type of a wreck. We'll take a look back and see. You see Ron Finning there, 27. That's Randall Watkins just behind him. Looking to see what might have happened here as Watkins. Oh, Tony Burke got loose. We'll take a look back here and take us and take. We'll see Tony working underneath Alexander Gangler as Gangler just came down and collected Tony and spun him around, and that just brought Randall Watkins in to finish the job and get Tony pointed the wrong direction. So under caution for the 6th total time tonight. 4th caution for cause. You're watching the Jack Dowel Simulators and eSports iRacing.com Truck Series here on Sim Racing Media. Thank you for making us a part of your evening. Dragon, I'll get to your comments momentarily, but on the other side of these messages. Back under green flag condition here with just over 50 laps to go. Claude Ferland, your race leader, he is joined up front by Alexander Gangler and Brandon Minto. Everybody coming down except for Ferland and Gangler. I want to take a look at our track conditions right now here on the right-hand side of your screen. Track temperature 77 degrees, so there is a lot of grip in that asphalt tonight. 72 degrees in the stands, so nice and comfy if you're here in Richmond, Virginia. Of course, Richmond, the home to so much history. As we're under caution again, this time it's Rich Jett, Nicholas Breidenbach, and Tony Burt having been part of this. We'll take a run back and see. We're going to watch the 77 right here. It's Rich Jett in the Godzilla Chevrolet Silverado. He's got Joseph underneath him. They all but go 4 wide, and he gets touched by Joseph. Joseph able to squirt by. As we're going to take a look at this from his perspective. And we're going to see exactly what Joseph might have seen. And we see them coming into turn one, and Joseph just getting himself a little bit loose. It loosens Jet and Breidenbach coming out of 4 and across the start-finish line. So with 55 laps to go, it's going to be Furland, Minto, Paris, Lafreniere, Aaron Mack, Sylvain Joly, Alexander Gangler, Joseph Lester, the Boy King, John Wilco from McAdoo, Pennsylvania, and Matt Mackin in the 01. And just taking a look here. You know, as I had mentioned, Richmond, very, historic, of course, during the American Civil War, and you can go down there and check out all that was part of the Confederate capital. And, of course, just north of Petersburg, Virginia, where officially, that would have been the last battle, if you will. The interesting thing about the Civil War and the state of Virginia in the first place, of course, is the McLean family owned the farm in Manassas where the first battle of the Civil War was fought at. Of course, after that first battle, they thought, we want to get out of here. We don't want to be around Manassas, or Bull Run as we call it here in the north. So the McLean family picked up and they moved to a little town called Appomattox Courthouse, which is just a short drive away from Richmond as well. And oddly enough, Appomattox Courthouse on April 12, 1865 is where the armistice was signed, where General Robert E. Lee surrendered to General Ulysses S. Grant. So the McLean family of Virginia, the only family that can say that the Civil War began in their front yard and ended in their front parlor. The lights are out on the iRacing.com pace car as we come into turn number 2. As I mentioned a moment ago, it's going to be Furland, Minto, Lafreniere, Paris, Mack, Joly, Alexander Gangler, Joseph Lester, John Wilco, and Matt Mackin, your top 10 here at Richmond Raceway. Of course, Richmond Raceway, the site of so many historic races throughout NASCAR history. We'll take a quick peek there at our track records. And at a place like Richmond, you expect to see, some really historic names, and no disappointment here. Most wins at Richmond belongs to Richard Petty with 13. He also has the most top 5s, top 10s, most starts, most poles tied with Bobby Allison, most laps completed 21,135, most laps led at 5,136. So, Richard Petty holding most of the track records here. Now, the lap records are kind of interesting. Kevin Harvick laid down a 21-second qualifying lap in his Ford Mustang back in 2019. Christopher Bell holds the Xfinity Series record at 22.712 seconds, and the Truck Series record is owned by Austin Hill and his Toyota Tundra from back in the 2020 Toyota Care 250 right here at Richmond. So some really interesting records being set as Claude Furland tries to put his name in the record books and bring home a trophy tonight, followed by Jeremy Paris, who a moment ago in our YouTube.com live chat was called the fastest driver on the racetrack. And Dragon, that's pretty interesting. I didn't even know that the Wild Wing Cafe had karaoke. I wonder if they do that in the Myrtle Beach location. That's usually the one that I get to be around or at. Patrick Hall said that Jeremy Paris has been the fastest truck all night, and right now that is no disappointment as we're working lap 203 of 250. And Dragon, that's an interesting That's an interesting piece of information that your great-great-uncle was General Robert E. Lee, was his bodyguard. Keeping an eye on Nicholas Breidenbach, who's chasing down John Wilco. There's about 2/10 of a second between these two drivers, and right now they're looking at one another, trying to figure out who it's going to be when that checkered flag flies in the next 45 laps here at Richmond Raceway. Claude Ferland has a battle going on behind him between Jeremy Paris and Gabriel Lafreniere. As we can see right here between these drivers, Lafreniere working the inside of Ferland. Those two teammates maybe trying to work together as they go door handle to door handle, crossing the start-finish line. Right now the edge goes to Ferland, and basically it looks like Lafreniere is trying to hold off Joseph Lester to keep him away from the lead. Unfortunately, the only driver able to get ahead of Lester so far this evening has been Sylvain Joly, who won the first two stages. Joseph Lester now trying to fend off Brandon Minto in the Little Caesars Chevrolet, a pair of bow ties going at it. Tony Burke crashing yet again. We'll see what happened with him. We see Tony Burke crossing the start-finish line and maybe getting loose here in 1 and 2. And yep, the rear end just stepped out and dragged him all the way around as he nosed into that non-safer barrier. .40 to go here at Richmond Raceway in the Tuesday Night NASCAR Truck Series, brought to you by Jack Dowel Simulators and eSports here on iRacing.com. Thank you for making Sim Racing Media a part of your evening, as we're so glad to have you with us the first 3 nights of every week. So you get to start your week off with some great racing here, as it's the end of the iRacing scheduled week and the beginning of our race week on a Sunday. At 7:30 p.m., you can join Matt Metler and Tony Trapasso in the broadcast booth as they bring you all of the action in the SNN Cup Series. Then, of course, we go Xfinity Series racing on a Monday at 8:20 p.m. and Truck Series racing right here at 8:20 on a Tuesday. You see Joseph Lester starting to close in on Gabriel Lafreniere, as he's got about 1.2 seconds between himself and our neighbor from the north, from St. Jude. Lafreniere about 4/10 of a second behind Paris, and Jeremy Paris up here trying to hold it together here on lap 216 of 250. So just about 35 laps to go. They're ripping them off like a bunch of Band-Aids, that's for sure, as they have not given up any real estate easily. There's definitely not been any kind of gentleman agreement, with the exception of Sylvain Joly giving the lead back to Joseph Lester, the boy king, earlier on in the race after he was spun out by accident by Dan Morgan. Jeremy Paris and Gabriel Lafreniere now running into lap traffic. They're right now behind what looks to be the 31 of Aaron Mack. I'm sorry, that's Minto and Jolie. Paris currently working behind nobody as he's got an open racetrack ahead of him. That's going to spell trouble for people like Gabriel Lafreniere and Joseph Lester, who are trying to close that gap. As Sylvain Joly trying to chase down Brandon Minto, who's trying to get after Aaron Mack. So this is a three-way battle breaking out as we get the battle box up, as this battle for fourth has heated up like an oven on self-clean. Minto gets into Mack, and we are under caution. We're going to go to our drone cam here. As our chopper was high above the scene, we can see exactly what happened. Minto here on the outside, just behind Aaron Mack, gets a run on Mack and just cleans his clock. Looks like Sylvain Joly, probably the best driver you could have right there. In fact, we'll run this back once more. As we can see right now, Joly suddenly gets onto the brake, starts to slow that Axon LED 08 down, and we're under caution. Our 8th total caution, 6 cautions for cause. The iRacing.com pace car dives down pit road. Jeremy Paris leads us back to green. He hits the Geico restart zone, and we're underway. Jeremy Paris drifting in front of Aaron Mack, and it looks like Joseph Lester ready to take it 3 wide with 24 to go here at Richmond Raceway. Ooh! John Wilco is pushed sideways. What a mess here in front of Wilco as we got back under green. We'll see what happened to him. And we see Wilco right here in the number 62 Roll Gold Chevrolet Silverado. Cold tires, perhaps the cause for this, as the rear end of the 62 just kept coming around. The 89, driven by Steve Herring, collects him, and we are back under caution. John Wilco causing that, or bringing that caution out all by his lonesome. As we're going to talk to race control Bennett Allen. Hey, Bennett, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me.
What up, Dave?
Kind of a busy night for race control. Usually we have a lot cleaner races here in the truck series.
Yeah, it definitely has been a little bit busier tonight, which I actually don't mind. Short tracks, I can get a really good wide view of the racetrack. I can see every corner. There was 1 or 2 times that kind of caught me sleeping a little bit when the 23 was around and 1 and 2 and no yellow came out. I had to start spamming my yellow flag button. Kind of caught me off guard, but stage 1 and 2 went by pretty well. These guys kept it clean for the most part, and then all of a sudden, after stage 2, kind of hell on earth for me. But I'm excited to see what happens here in the next 20 laps. So
Yeah.
got some pairing strategies with people on old tires, people on new tires. I've been constantly reminding people to kind of tighten up on restarts, so maybe it'll make it even more exciting. But yeah, we're also trying to deal with cars or trucks blinking as well. We're trying to limit internet issues.
I haven't seen too much of that, but just enough.
Yeah, just every once in a while we have cars or trucks, drivers with internet issues, but it's been pretty steady for the most part. I just started giving the 62 the EOL for causing the last yellow. For viewers that don't know, we do have an incident system to where if drivers cause caution, and it's obviously their fault, they'll be getting an EOL, and then if it happens again, they get DQ'd. We do that just to limit incidents, try to keep races green as much as possible. For ovals, we do have the yellows for stage breaks, but for road courses, we don't.
Not that I want to scratch a bad itch, but let's talk about a road course incident from last night. Take us through that last, it's not even the last lap, but the last stretch of the last lap for you.
Yeah, I did. I made some mental mistakes and some on-track mistakes last night that kind of hindered the amount of incident points that I had. And I was coming up behind Joseph on the last lap, and I made a lunge inside, and I broke relatively early, maybe just a little bit later, because one thing got on his inside, and then it just locked up, and I slid right into him, giving me my final 4X. DQ'd me. Luckily, we lapped everyone up to 5th place, so I still finished 5th, top 5, but definitely one got away from me. Unfortunate. But,
yeah, I said it earlier to you off air, and I'll say it again now. It's not often that I get ready to see, side-by-side action at a road course. Usually somebody just goes out there and sets the pace, but you and Joseph had a great battle all night long, and you kept it interesting, especially when you consider that it was a road course. And Tony and Greg and I were talking after the race, and what a good show you guys put on last night.
Yeah, definitely. When me and Joseph were kind of basically dumping each other in every corner, I thought that was fun. I wish things were just a little bit different if we had a damage model for the B-class cars, but we were definitely training some paint last night. I just thought that was the most fun, because that's what road course racing is nowadays. just trying to, get every spot you can and not give it an inch. I just love that. And definitely when you get to do it with one of your best friends, it's, kind of rare when you get to do that.
Absolutely. And speaking of Joseph now, he's about to go side by side with Jeremy Paris and retake the lead here with 17 to go on lap number 234, now 235 as we cross the stripe. I mean, what do you think is going through Joseph's mind right now in the 84?
Just win. I know he's really just trying to trophy hunt as much as he can. And that pass should have been easy. I know Jeremy he didn't have a set of tires laying in the pits, so he's on pretty old tires. I kind of feel bad for Jeremy because he went multiple laps down early because he had the penalty on the initial start of the race. I think he got ahead of Joseph just a little bit right as they took the green, and I gave him a black flag. So, kind of bad luck with the way the yellows come out, but that's kind of what iRacing is, and that's what racing is. Kind of leave it up to luck at some points, but what Joseph needs to do now is to run his line, treat every lap like a quality lap, because he has enough time to where that tires won't really fall off that much if he does that. And he also has to hope that we don't restack him again, because that can always cause some issues leading into turn 1 and even turn 3. But we're actually coming close to 20 to go, so further in the back of the pack is definitely going to get pretty interesting, because this is a playoff cutoff race. So 10 to go. Man, time has flown by. My bad. And
Jeremy
they're
Paris
right
is
in
going
green.
around, but he keeps it pointed forward. We stay green. Don't hit that manual caution button yet there, sir.
I was about to.
Now, the next question I'm going to have, as we bring that up, manual cautions. Race control is the thankless job in iRacing. I mean, everybody always says, great job to the league admins and great job to the broadcasters and stuff like that. And, every now and then you guys get a little bit of a shout out in post-race. But how much different is it to sit up in the catbird seat, high above the racetrack, controlling the race versus being down on the track?
It depends on which track it is. For short tracks, you get a better vantage point. You can see the whole racetrack. If it's a mile and a half, it's kind of the same thing. You can't see every single car on track sometimes. Then they're just little dots. 06 and 05 are going at it right now, going down the front straight. But it's nice because you can see everything, and you can really, as a driver in other series, you race with some of these guys in this series, you have a better vantage point of their driving style and the way they race others. And that can sometimes give you a leg up. I will say that I am thinking of becoming an actual short track official as I'm trying to get a lay of the land of what professions that I want. Langley Motor Speedway or Speedway is about a half-hour drive from where I live right now. So
Nice.
I'm doing race control and iRacing. Never know, I might be in that flag stand at Langley. That'll be kind of cool. But I really do like it.
There's a lot of call. I think iRacing, especially over the last 3 or 4 years, especially since the pandemic back in 2020, where we see the translation between iRacing and the real world becoming more pronounced. There are folks like you who are interested in race control or being an official at a short track. There's folks like me that are fine to be a microphone and a speaker as we're under caution. Looks like John Wilco brought this one out. We'll take a look back here at the replay.
Looking at it right now.
Let's see what happened with old Johnny.
I don't think that was John's fault.
Well, we're going to see him come out of turn 4 here on our replay screen. And, no, he definitely, I can't say that was his fault. But anyway, as I was just saying, there's a lot of folks that are able to translate what we do here on iRacing and translate that to the real world. I mean, I myself have found, myself on terrestrial radio, true radio, if you will. And of course, there are folks that got their start broadcasting at iRacing that are now working at their local short track, their local dirt track, and there's guys like you that I'm sure that if you put your mind to it, you can absolutely get yourself, into one of those white jumpsuits.
Yeah, and I think it would be really fun. When I was at Richmond watching the truck race, I was talking to one of the officials during the like lightning period, and he was like, "Yeah, if you want to get into this, you just have to go to your local short track and start there. Every short track's always looking for people to help. Because not everybody, just like in iRacing, not every single person can race every week. Not every single person can do their job every week. You can't really live your life as just an official. That's kind of like a weekend thing.
Right.
And it's kind of like a side hustle. It's a hobby. And as much as I love motor racing, I think I'd be pretty good at doing that. Because I love every single type of motorsport, and not everyone likes that. Some people just stick to F1. A lot of people in America just stick to NASCAR. And I don't know. I just love racing so much that I can't not be a part of it. And I know there's maybe some kids my age watching the broadcast. They're 17, 18 years old, and they're wondering, well, what's next? If you like NASCAR so much, try to get a job in NASCAR. It can never hurt, because NASCAR is always looking for people on media. They're looking for security, track officials, et cetera, et cetera. Because that gives some other people a break. Because people need breaks. That's part of life. People need mental health days. So.
And I always say that I wish I would have known in high school when I was your age. I wish I would have known now what I know then about myself, and the interest that I have in broadcasting. Interestingly enough, it seems like now that I've kind of found this groove here, that every time there's a microphone that has nobody behind it, somehow I wind up behind that microphone. It's interesting.
Yeah, and I even like broadcasting. I've done it a couple times for multiple different iRacing broadcasting organizations. And, there's a level of excitement that you have just being in the broadcast booth. I know it's quote unquote fake. It's real but fake at the same time. These aren't real cars or trucks going on a racetrack. They're virtual, but yet it has that same energy, has that same vibe. It's weird. It's amazing how that can translate. And like you, Dave, you have that level of excitement in your voice when we're going green for the first time, when we're coming to the checkers. You have to portray that broadcaster. You do it really well. Not everyone has that level of excitement. And when I try to broadcast, when someone wrecks, I like to yell like Rick Allen does, or like Dale Jr. does.
Yes.
Because it gives that level of excitement.
There's
right now,
nothing better than a Dale Jr. Oh, they're wrecking.
Exactly. And we're coming to green here. This is a green white checkered. I'll leave it to Dave, but just watch.
And here we are coming back to the green white checker, folks. We're going to be racing around to the white flag. If something happens between here and the white flag, if the caution comes out, we will have to rack them, stack them, and do it all over again. But right now, Joseph Lester gets himself some distance as he brings Orlando, Florida's very own Nicholas Breidenbach. They are touching behind him as they're 3 wide. Jeremy Paris beating and banging against the double natural of Rich Jett and the 43 of Sylvain Joly. The white flag waves and we're racing back to checkers. The popsicle sticks are down and the race has just finally begun. A fight breaking out here behind him between Breidenbach and Joly. Furlan looking for any kind of real estate, and Joly now throws it underneath Breidenbach. Breidenbach trying to hold him off in the Hooters machine, but Joseph Lester, the uncontested winner of tonight's race here at Richmond Raceway, almost said International Speedway. But we have finally seen the checkered flag fly tonight after 250 blistering fast laps. On the podium tonight going to be Joseph Lester, Nicholas Breidenbach, and Sylvain Joly, and it looks like Breidenbach wants to give a little love tap there to Lester and let him know that that was a really hard-fought battle here at the end of this race. Ben, thanks for...
Joseph said he can't do an interview tonight. I guess he had something come up. It is kind of late. It is 10:32 on fast time. But yeah, I like being up here in the booth when I get the chance to. I don't really get to commentate S&N series races because I'm usually in them or I'm doing race control. But I do find it a lot of fun to, be up here while the race is going, talk to Dave, talk to, Matt if he's in the booth. And last couple of broadcasts, SRM has done a really good job. And, and huge congrats to Joseph. This is like his fourth win in a row or something like that.
Yeah, he swept last week at Pocono, and now he has swept this week here at Richmond and Road America. 3 totally different tracks, and Joseph has once again proven why he is the boy king.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of improvement from him over the course of the last year or so, and I'm super proud of him. And I guess I can just kind of take his interview for him. I know that he's always excited to race on Saturday night, or not Saturday nights, but Sunday nights, Monday nights, and Tuesday nights. Sunday nights he's kind of just there to be there and kind of kill time, but Mondays and Tuesdays he's very, very competitive, and he has legitimate sponsors out there who are excited to see him race, and because he will win and he will finish well. So huge props to him. I think let's see who finished in the top 3. Yeah, Nick got 2 top 2s in a row last night and tonight, and it'll be interesting to see how the playoffs play out for trucks. But I'm gonna go talk to Chris. I appreciate you bringing me up here, Dave, and enjoy the rest of your night.
All right, brother. Listen, I appreciate your time. We're gonna hop on down here and pick up P2 since you finished up for Joseph, as we're gonna get Orlando, Florida's very own Nicholas Breidenbach. Hey, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me.
Yeah, it was good, man.
Man, I'll tell you what, a hard-fought battle tonight. I thought you and Sylvain were really going to go at it with the hammer and tongs here at the very end. You had a great run tonight. How is that truck feeling?
Honestly, it wasn't handling that great for me. I kind of burned my stuff up, and it was an uphill battle all night, but I just got lucky with a late caution there and was able to get some tires and a little bit of track position and then just make it happen.
I mean, that's the bottom line, just making it happen. I mean, so many times we see drivers like yourself that maybe get a little frustrated early on in a race. And I mean, you definitely weren't in the best of positions when you started. Back there in 9th, you had to fight through some traffic a couple of times. Pit strategy came into it. Did you have any tires left, maybe one in the bank, or did you just burn them all out?
No, I used them all up.
I mean, listen, at a place like Richmond, tire wear is king, especially when you're trying to get that track position, and without burning up those tires.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this probably the best I've ever done at this track in particular when it comes to saving tire. It's just been a track that I've struggled at for so long.
Well, listen, I mean, we're off next week, but then we come back to Lucas Oil Speedway or Lucas Oil Raceway at IRP on the oval. How do you feel? I mean, this is the last week of the regular season. So how do you feel going into the playoffs now in 2 weeks?
We'll see. I may or may not run that one. I mean, I'm not running for points in this series. I kind of enjoy doing these little one-offs here and there, though.
I mean, everybody enjoys the one-offs, and I'll tell you what, man, we're just glad to have you back here on the track. I know you had mentioned last night, the car accident that had you sidelined for a little bit, but I do like when I see Breidenbach on the leaderboard, so glad to have you back, brother. And listen, before we cut you loose, who do you need to tip your helmet to and give a shout-out for tonight?
Money House Racing, Austin, Leo, Joe Stafford, Joe Lester. Big shout to Joe Lester for getting that win tonight. Always good to see that. But anyone else that I may have forgotten there as well at Money House, the whole team, and my family back at home. Also, a shout to Sylvian for the hard race in there, and a clean race there too at the end.
All right, man. Well, listen, congratulations on the podium finish. We'll see you in a couple of weeks, maybe at IRP, maybe not. You never know, but just glad to have you.
Thank you.
All right, man. We'll get Nick down there to the back to the waiting room. We'll get Sylvain Jolie right here in the broadcast booth. Hey, Sylvain, it's Dave up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yes, Dave. How are you again?
I'm good, man. Listen, comment a ti corsa.
Hey, very good. Hey, it's a
Did I get it
dream.
close?
Hey, it's a dream night. I win the second stage, finish third. Man, I'm missing my start for the last start for the green white checker. I'm missing a mission shift. Puis Nicolas and pass me. Puis it's not possible to. I'm coming up, Nicolas. I'm trying for Ballum and Nick. Mais là, it's up the brake. Don't touch the Nick. Mais it's really good, the race, Nick, and my partner.
Absolutely, man. Well, listen, I've got Google Translate up because, you know, I desperately would love to learn French. I just can't. It's one of those languages that I just haven't gotten around to. But I do want to say here.
Toutes nos félicitations. Toutes nos félicitations.
To you, sir. See,
Hey, congratulations. Thanks,
technology helping us every step of the way. Who do you need to thank tonight before we let you go?
Yeah, very là. I'm very hot. C'est, I love this night. It's very good. Me, I'm very happy. It's a dream for me. No, it's very good. And battle and Joe. He's very clean, Joe, and pass me and higher and lower. Oof.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, well, listen, once again, congratulations, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks at IRP.
Pardon me?
We'll see you in 2 weeks at the next race.
Yes, for the Locosor, he's a short track again.
Absolutely.
I love the short track. Fait que, after is Milwaukee. Fait que 2 short track. Fait que go for the again for the win next 2 weeks. I love that. Yes, thank you, Dave. Thank you, my sponsor for the Accent LED, Accent Superior. Insadel.ca. Thank you, Claude. Et, ça va pas bien, mon affaire. J'ai perdu son nom à Gab. Good job, Gabriel. Merci, le père, d'écouter la course. My father is a seed race next week, another week. Let's go. Fait que, thank you, Dave. Next time. Good night.
All right, good night. Thank you. Last but certainly not least, the Boy King, and I did see that you changed that here on your banner. Mr. Joseph Lester finding his way into victory lane for the 4th race in a row in the Under Series here in the SNN Family of Racing Series. Man, what a finish.
Man, that was a great finish. Strategy was all over the place. I'm just glad I came out on top.
Yeah, I mean, you always want to come out on top when that checkered flag flies, and you absolutely killed it tonight, man. I mean, how was that truck feeling? I mean, you were battling all night long. Like, you didn't have, you know, your normal, let me just put like 3 seconds between me and the rest of the field. You had fights all night.
Yeah, the first 50 laps, I don't know if you got that, but I had like a 2-second lead over Sylvain, but I had killed my stuff. And then it was just a progress to get it to where I could save tires while still going fast the whole race. It was just so tight that at the start, I had to keep loosening the car up as we went, and I'm glad I could get it to a point where if we got a short run, I could do it.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely had that short run speed, and in Stage 3, we had nothing but short runs. I mean, listen, you've proven yourself time and time again. Your dad and I had some time to chat tonight here on the air, and which, you know, I'm always thankful for, especially when I'm working alone. And, you know, we both cannot say enough good about you, man. I mean, the way that you have really honed your racecraft has been incredible over the last 3 years, and you have earned every bit of this checkered flag tonight.
Well, thank you, man. It was definitely one I wouldn't have won in the past. It just comes down to picking the battles and making sure you're in the right place at the right time.
Absolutely. Well, listen, before we cut you loose, who do you need to thank for this run tonight?
Well, I gotta first thank God first and foremost. He's always been there for me. Gotta thank my parents for letting me do this. Got to thank my team: Austin, Bennett, Leo, Joe. Joe spotted me tonight, so that was extra help. Nick, and everybody else. And then it was just also Living Not Lumber for sponsoring the car. So it was great to have them on board, and I'm excited for the playoffs.
Yes, playoff season is upon us. In 2 weeks, we go to IRP. So what are you thinking as we head into the playoffs? And obviously, you've now qualified for that.
Well, actually, I think we have Michigan next week, if I'm not mistaken.
The trucks are off next week.
Oh, okay. Well,
Xfinity is at Michigan. The trucks are off.
well, that's unfortunate. I was looking forward to Michigan, but Lucas Oil, I'm not very good there, so we'll just try to maintain, and then attack whatever tracks after that. I think we got a big break after that.
I am now checking the schedule because I don't remember what's past IRP. Give me one. Oh, crap. Give me 1 second. Looks like we go to IRP, then we're off for a week, then we go to the Milwaukee Mile, then we're off for another week, and then the last race of round 1 of the playoffs is at Kansas, which in the trucks, Kansas is a lot like Michigan. You can just hold it wide open for a long time.
Yeah, the first 2 tracks I'm probably going to struggle at. I've never been good at those, but I won Kansas earlier in the spring, so hopefully I can carry that same speed and go lock myself in there.
All right, man. Well, listen, congrats tonight, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks over at IRP.
Yeah, see you, buddy. Thank you.
That, of course, the voice of the boy king, Joseph Lester. And I'll tell you what, we cannot be more thankful for the group of race car drivers that we have in this league. I mean, these guys, week in and week out, are just absolutely amazing when they hit the racetrack. I mean, you know, maybe they argue, maybe they get under each other's skin, but at the end of the day, they are competitors and fierce competitors at that. Before we get out of here tonight at Richmond, we just want to take one final look at our final results. Of course, you'll have to forgive us. This is round number 16 at Richmond. Joseph Lester bringing home the checkered flag, joined by Nicholas Breidenbach and Sylvain Joly on the podium tonight. Rich Jett finishes in 4th with Claude Ferlin rounding out the top 5. Jeremy Paris, Gabriel Lafreniere, Aaron Mack, Alexander Gangler finishing in 9th with Steve Herring rounding out your top 10. The best of the rest belongs to Chris Claude in 11th, Ron Fitting, Brandon Minto, Matt Mackin, and Dan Morgan getting top 15 recognition here with Randall Watkins, John Wilco, and Tony Burt, with Sean Kelly bringing up the rear, finishing in 19th position. It has been an incredible evening here at Richmond Raceway, and I cannot be more thankful for these drivers. And we will be back in 2 weeks here on the Truck Series, but don't miss us next Monday for the Xfinity Series live right here on Sim Racing Media. And for us here at Sim Racing Media, we want to thank you one more time for making us a part of your evening. And tomorrow, as you go through your day, remember that you're special, just the way you are. You're the only one like you, and that's good enough for you. Good night, everybody.